All right, we are here with another trippy Trip C production. I am your boy Tahuti Trismegistus, aka Chase. Come and fix this. So we're gonna call you away from your simulation of Mercury to plant a symmetry and learn our language so you can channel your infinite individuality into something that is more finite and thus able to be comprehended and understood by everyone who is resonating with the same limits that you are using to articulate your mind, aka this English language. How beautiful. You are tapping into the root of the symmetry. This is our podcast, Cynchranici-Tea, where we know that nothing is a coincidence, and thus everything is intentional. How do you feel about that? Let's talk about it. Today's episode. This is episode 12. Yes, it is. We're talking about self-love. For episode 12, this is the L episode. We're talking about love. We're talking about language, the law, the light. How do you love yourself? What is self-love? What is love in the first place? Because so many people have all their own definitions of love, right? And we can see that it's always rooted in desire. And it's funny because people have such a weird relationship with that word that they try to act like love is not desire. So we're going to get into how love and desire are the same thing and what the nuanced difference would be between love and desire, and why people would try to feel like love is not desire. And then what does it really look like to love yourself or to desire yourself? And how are love and desire actually different? Is there a difference between desiring yourself and loving yourself? Let's find out. Let's talk about it. See you on the other side.
Been crying, I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C. My mind's been flying wild, my soul's been crying. I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C. My soul's been crying wild, my mind's been flying so high. Through the astral plane, macabre brain, I built your game, we're not the same. My soul's been crying while my mind's been flying too. Relay a word, those who listen heard, we make our vibe from deep inside. My soul's been crying while my mind's been flying back into my space, called away with haste, so I'll fall with grace to thrill my chase. My mind's been flying while my soul's been crying too. Water my earth, I know my worth, my soul gives birth to all my work. My mind's been flying while my soul's been crying, so I can't connect with those you neglect. Time to correct how we reflect. My mind's been flying while my soul's been crying too. Who flood the sea with energy from my inner chi? I'm free to be me. I felt to inspire you to say how to fly higher too. Fly higher too. Fly higher too. Hang out with the family in your true spot. Don't be sad if you forgot that you've got a spirit run and you're not true to this spot. Flip a script and break the facade. Take a trip and go abroad. When you're brave, they will apply. We get in touch with your true God. I've been fighting. I've been vibing when I'm dancing with demons, reversing curses and scheming. They be fiending for reasons to change the sins like the seasons. So I've been falling, cause y'all been calling my mind out of my spirit. I feel it best when I'm near it, but y'all cry for help and I hear it. So Hermes flies out to stare it in a new healthy direction. We'll grow through natural connection. So I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C to level up like it's nothing, to turn into something, to bust into function, bumping and pumping with all the wisdom I'm gushing. And when I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C, I fell to inspire you. Simmer higher, I simmer in the skies, I triple in my chi, then I open up my eyes. Symmetry, I balance in my seasons, I mother the cohesion that keeps us intertwined. Symmetry, balance in my seasons, and I don't need a reason to fulfill my desires. Symmetries.
Okay, self-love. What is self-love? What does it mean to love yourself? Well, we can start with a physical representation of how most people love themselves. Really, okay, here's what I'll do. I'm about to get into the physical expressions of love. So we can start at this ground basis before we get to like the whole spiritual thing. Physically, how do we see love play out in nature, in our real life on a day-to-day basis, right? As a culture, even. So no matter, anyone's consciousness, whenever they talk about love, we can then like see everything that the word love is connected to. Now, once we see that everything that the word love is connected to in physical reality, we'll be able to mentally, to subconsciously see how spirits are using it to express how they feel about themselves. Because the idea of love, right? The feeling of love is supposedly the highest feeling. So this is where then we get love being a drug, because you get high on love, right? When you think you're in love with that's so rude of me as a Virgo. That's so funny. When you think you're in love with someone versus when you're actually in love with someone, it's hilarious. But for real though, when you think you're in love with someone, you're very well just getting high off of the lusty chemicals that come from rubbing your bodies together. And what's gonna happen is that you realize over time, as you get tired of rubbing your bodies together to produce those feelings, all that's left is the mind that you as spirits are using to communicate. And if your minds are not actually in resonance nearly as much as your body, then you're actually going to realize you don't love that person. So this is what we see in a lot of relationships. A lot of relationships where people will say that they love each other. And they'll be like, oh, I'm in love with you. I'm in love with you too. But really, they just desire, they really want the feelings that they get when they rub their vibrations together. And this is where I, as Hermes, have to step in and ask the question, can you really love someone else if you don't love yourself? And this is like the root of most, so many relationship problems I've seen and dealt with in my life. And even like relationships where people are bringing me into their problems. And then they try to act like they weren't bringing me into their problems, because I naturally then talk about what they're projecting onto me. And now they're going to say I'm projecting. But if you're going to get so angry at me for just saying what I'm perceiving, then clearly I'm not projecting. I'm literally just repeating what you projected into me. You just don't like that I'm saying it now. Because now that I'm saying it, you have to recognize it as real and outside of yourself. And then you would have to make a change that you're not ready to make because you love comfortability. You love being comfortable in a relationship you hate more than being happy on your own. And then that's where I have to learn as Hermes, as a spirit that loves being alone, that you actually hate being alone. And you're using your relationship with other people to run away from yourself. And this is why, this is like hell. That's the epitome of hell. And this is how spirits create life. Straight up. Like on a subconscious level, it's because spirits don't want to be alone with themselves. So they use water, they use feelings, they use the universe to connect with other spirits. So this is why it's really important to watch out who you connect with and who you build any relationship with. Because if you're building a relationship with someone who doesn't actually love themselves, then you could very well waste 10 years of your life. You can give the best years of your life to someone who's just wasting it because they don't actually love themselves. So they actually can't love you. And then this is where like so many relationships, so many marriages just turn sour because the spirits were in a circumstance where they actually didn't love each other for who they are. They only loved each other for how they felt when they rubbed their bodies together. And then this is where spirits can stay together for however long, because even though their minds are too different, their bodies are still compatible. And they feel like, this is where if you believe that you are the body, then you'll very well just keep living inside of that and let those feelings of the body let you continue engaging in a relationship with a spirit who doesn't have a harmonious mind with yours. And since we know hermetically, somatically, that the mind creates the body, it's actually really then impossible that your body is going to be in resonance with the other spirits. So then that's where we get the difference of lust and love. So what is love versus lust? Right? Lust then seems to be wanting, whereas love is also wanting though. So lust seems to be then a carnal form, a more unsustainable form of love, where things that you lust are things that are generally outside of yourself as a spirit. And this is where we then get into the greed and overconsumption energy. And like whatever you're lusting, it's like that low vibrational, you're reacting to the environment and it makes you go outside of yourself, which is what physical reality is. Like the ego builds physical reality by reacting to its environment and leaving its space, right? We literally see that's all physical reality is, actually, to put it as simple as possible. So that's lust. And lust is only then ever going to be a representation, a more lower vibrational representation of what a spirit loves, right? So anything that you lust for is like something that you love getting out of control. Like you can love women, right? I love women. I love connecting with very awesome women. Does that mean that I'm constantly going outside of myself and like lusting for, oh, another woman, I need to meet another woman, blah, blah, blah. See, like there's a big difference. Like, and really, if I truly love myself, then actually it would be impossible for me to lust after women because I'm too busy literally loving myself. So this is where we see that lust is about physical reality and love is literally spiritual. So I have to know as a spirit that true self-love is marrying myself. And any woman outside of myself is not me. So really, like, why am I lusting after a spirit who's not me? Like, that's unsustainable. That's not hermetic. That's not healthy. That's not productive. There's no point in creating with a spirit outside of yourself when you're not creating what you want internally first. So that's where I would know that like anything that I want from a woman outside of myself would just be a physical representation of the feelings that I should be giving myself. That's deep right there. That's for all my men. And my women especially. I mean, but that is for all my men. As far as guys out here just wanting to have sex, and like they're just like super sex hungry, and they're like lusty for women. They're like, oh, let me go fuck this girl, and now they're spending their money and their time and energy hooking up with girls. Yet they're not creating anything on their own, and they're not really connecting then with their inner woman. Because if they were connecting with their inner woman, then they'd actually be way more productive, and they would be creating a garden, like we talk about in Dissect the Dialect, that has women coming to them. This is literally esoterically what I've just had to realize, why my spirit has made it so that I'm named Chase. Literally, as far as me being chased, and me as the God of wisdom. The more I chase wisdom, the more I chase myself, the more I create costumes naturally and then naturally express myself at costume conventions, the more that women who want to connect with whatever I've got going on will chase me and do what they can do to communicate with me in a way that allows them to connect with me and consume me. So then that's where I have to protect my energy even harder. And I have to learn that I can't control how spirits connect with me. All I can do is control how I connect with myself and be increasingly conscious of how spirits connect with me. And this is what life is. This is then the balance where you as a spirit are individual. You can't perceive anything outside of yourself unless you create the circumstance that allows you to make a body and do so. But then anything that you see inside of using that body is still only going to be a projection of what you are able to understand up to that point. This is why no matter how much love indigenous peoples, no matter how many of their creations, no matter how much help indigenous peoples gave Europeans, the Europeans could only perceive hatred inside of the indigenous peoples, because they're so full of hatred that they want to rape and consume Native Americans anyway. Whereas the Native Americans, because they're so naturally loving, and because they love themselves so much, all they're doing is projecting love onto these terrorists who are coming over to steal, enslave, and brutalize their families. So this is where we have to take this lesson of history into account, that the indigenous peoples are too loving, so they were not able to perceive the hatred inside of Europeans, and Europeans are too hateful. So no matter how loving the indigenous peoples were to them, they're always able to create the narrative that they're savages and they deserve to be raped in the name of Jesus Christ, because that's just their energy. So literally, like, this history in this country is so extreme for this reason. It's like truly, it's so remarkable, observing it from Mercury especially, just how projection is perception. Like literally, it's all about, that's why I have to communicate here as Chase, as an indigenous man. You literally have to communicate and interact with spirits outside of yourself to learn about the universe, because the universe is not you. You are not the center of the universe, but you are the center of your universe. And you have a special place in the universe based on how you consistently communicate your universe into the external universe. So we're all building the universe right now. And the universe is all of us coming together consistently. So if you don't love yourself, then you're not going to feel like you have a universe, or you're not going to feel like you have any creations worth expressing. And now you're actually not going to be the center of your universe. You are going to enter the universe, and a spirit who's a center of their universe in the universe is going to use light, is going to use logic, is going to use love, is going to use law, is going to use language to convince you to be a convict of their ideas. And they're going to make your universe believe that they are the center of the universe. And now you're going to come and colonize my land saying that I'm not God because someone else told you that you were God because you're worshiping the sacrifice of a man who fasted instead of fasting yourself. And now I get to learn about myself as a spirit. Like, whoa, that's disgusting. That makes no sense. I am hurting my brain, losing all of my intelligence to understand how you could be so lost. But then that's where I have to just learn the importance of my job. Like, it's just so important that I continue to be me then, because that's just showing me how lost other spirits are in not feeling like connecting with themselves. And the only reason you would not feel like connecting with yourself is literally because you don't have self-love, right? So that's what today's episode is all about, making sure you actually love yourself so you're not a colonizer, consuming the lands and attention of others, and not actually bringing value to the universe, but instead just eating the universe. And now you are just worshiping and powering other spirits instead of powering your own spirit and creating something that other people can worship. And of course, worship just means to believe in, and believe in just means to pay attention to, right? So literally anytime you pay money to go see a movie, that's you worshiping that movie. Not in the way of, oh, you live by it, but at the same time, depending on how much you like that movie, if we think about the Marvel Cinematic Universe or just movies in general, people subconsciously live by the principles that they absorb from watching these movies. And based on how many other people are connecting with the same movie, depending on how much you want to connect with other people, now we have comic conventions, right? This has been my whole life, living in this subconscious world and bringing attention to the subconscious and learning about it in this way. That's why I've had to learn then through making all these Spider-Man costumes that he's just Marvel's capitalization on Hermes, and making these Black Panther costumes, T'Challa is just Marvel's capitalization on T'Chaos. And the DC Flash is their capitalization on Hermes. So it's just when spirits create life, then we, like me as a spirit, when I create the frequency, when I create Hermes, and then I go back to my space and I introduce that to the universe, I can go back to my space for eons. The moment I step out of my space, I have to naturally ride the frequency and vibration of what I've done before. Basically, you feel like, because that's literally what individuality is. So you have your own lane. As a spirit, you are the lane. This is what Hermeticism is all about. The path that you are walking is simultaneously being built by your desires to express yourself. And that's just a fact. Your desire, you are the desire. As in, your desire to express yourself is what is allowing you to be aware in the first place. So of course you are the spirit being aware of your desire, but the fact that you don't desire to be completely unaware shows that your first desire is awareness, which then naturally channels into you expressing your individuality. Fact is, you are so individual that you would not be able to share it with anyone else unless you felt like connecting to a structure outside of you, which is the universe. So because this universe is a structure outside of yourself, and it's a structure that we're all building from our desire to connect with spirits outside of ourselves, we then build bodies inside of this structure. So the universe is just one infinite geometric structure of light, a breathing, watery organism that is constantly being updated from us combining our feelings, our watery organisms, into it. And now we are just, boom, constantly expanding this vibrational structure. And inside of that structure is infinite bodies based on how we desire to stabilize our connections. So this is why your body is trillions of cells, because there's infinite ways that spirits stabilize their desire to connect with one another. The fact is, we are connecting with one another, and it takes structures to do so. Okay? So this is how we build bodies. This is why you have a body. It's that simple. And the fact that you have a body means that you love yourself to some degree. And your body, as I've said before, loves you. The cells in your body love you to the point where they are creating the structure to support your ability to express your spirit. So love is spiritual, lust is physical. I just want to make the point that both are desire. And that you as a spirit, you willing yourself into existence is an expression of your desire to be an individual. How you look as an individual can be very collective, because then that's the point of you relating your individuality to a collective. It's only ever going to be an expression of your desire to be an individual, though. It's just, of course, the subconscious details. How do we express our individuality? That's infinitely different. That spans in all these infinite ways that we are using these structures to even learn about, because we have to create the opportunity as a spirit. Because as a spirit, as space, we are not individual inside of our own space. We are everything. We're neither the collective or the individual. So it's only once we desire to connect with another spirit that we must realize that we're an individual. And so this is like the infinite awakening process throughout the whole universe. As far as making it as simple as possible, because life is so polarized. You as a spirit, your awakening, your leveling up is only ever going to be realizing that you are an individual and you are not the collective. It's just that you as a spirit, before you could become aware of your body, you had to take your individual and desire to be part of a collective, which means that you had to kill your own ego. So this is why in the alphabet, J is 10, J, you're in heaven alone, K is 11, K is you killing yourself with water, the universal water that puts out your ego. It puts out your individual fire so you can slither in like the serpent and communicate to all of us your garden and how you have sex. And then this is where ideally you use your serpent to have sex with yourself, and you create a self-sustaining simulation inside of the universe. So this is my world of Mercury, where again, if I died right now, if I removed myself from my body, I would literally just go back to my simulation and I would be in a more powerful light body. This body is super dense and thus I'm going to say weak, and just weak in terms of there's way less freedom. So the desire to stabilize how my mind communicates results in me creating a body in this world where now we have all these rules and laws and things move slower. And thus I say weaker because literally even it's very funny that we call a week, you know, and that there's 4 weeks in a month. Like I need to sit with that more. Why is a week called a week? Because it very much does feel like the point is in physical reality, we're weak, spirituality, we're strong. And the whole point of spirits desiring to connect their individuality to other spirits is that we must all become weak. We must become vulnerable, which means that we must create circumstances where we are flesh. And we are then, you know, quote unquote scared of the same things, in terms of like, we have to be cautious of falling off a cliff. We have to be cautious of getting stabbed by a knife or shot by a gun. We have to be cautious of keeping our blood inside of our bodies, because we subconsciously know that our blood is the liquid that represents our soul, and our body is the solid that represents our consciousness, and our spirit is combining these so that we can create the circumstances where we are able to bring our awareness into exit stance, into existence, and connect with others, allowing us to build families together. Now I can merge my blood with yours. We can make a child, and we're literally building a family. This is infinite. This is in all realms and realities. Okay, like I've been in all of them, and I'm going to all of them because I love exploring. And they call me away from my space when they're like, "Yo, Hermes, we're ready for you. We're like, come here. Like, please teach here, teach here, teach here. Hey, teach here. Hermes, teach here." This is what I do. Okay, again, you can Google me. This is the point of me sitting on my simulation of Mercury, hanging out with all my death spirits, and we're just observing the universe, constantly writing, constantly making sarcastic jokes, hanging out, eating popcorn. You know, life is a movie. The universe is one movie. All right? It's hilarious. It's great. So we're on the moon watching the movie. Okay, that's why the moon is the podcast. I'm the god of the moon. Okay, it's all about reflecting upon the life that you are creating so that you can learn how to tell a better story, right? This is what we do all the time. Then on physical levels, right? YouTube is full of these. Okay, so spirits love this. Spirits love reflecting on the life, on the stories that they've made so that they can learn how to build better stories. Because what else is there to do? There's kind of nothing else to do. Literally as a spirit, there's no thing else to do. The moment you as a spirit express yourself, you have built the universe. And once you go back to your space, you can be in there for eons. The moment you enter the universe and express yourself again, you're just building your body inside the universe. So me as Hermes, it would be a waste of time for me to spend my life as Chase building up the bodies of white supremacy and doing what really dumb people who have stolen my caduceus and don't even know what it represents are trying to tell me to do. Right? Like it would not only be a complete waste of time, it would be an infinite disservice to my spirit. It would be an infinite disservice to real God, to the real universe, to the real mission. Right? So that's where all I can do is be myself. Like all that's worth it for me to do is build upon what I've done before, aka capitalize on my own chi, build a structure out of my own currency versus just giving my currency to another structure. Right? So this is what we do, microcosm, macrocosm. I've already built this body. I've already made money off of my chi by making muscles that my mind can manipulate. It would be the hugest waste of time for me to then use my mind to manipulate my muscles in a way that actually does lift the blocks for Jews telling me that I built the pyramids through enslaving them. I want to throw up. How dare you? Right? So, no. This is what we do as spirits. It's only worth it that when you as a spirit step outside of your own space, you are literally bringing your feelings into the universe. So this is why you can never get out of your feelings. Like, the only reason I'm able to build a symmetry and do everything I'm doing as Trip C, as Chase Clarence Calloway, is because I feel like it. I'm powered by my feelings. And literally, even me, like the feeling of not wanting to do something and then saying, well, I'm going to do it anyway, is still a feeling. And it's cool. I was having a conversation with my friend Gavin about this actually just today. And we're interacting. We're going back and forth. He'll be on the podcast at some point. We're going back and forth about the difference between desire and will. And I'm the esoteric translator. So the whole point is that we're all using words to try and articulate our perspective and feelings. And it takes waiting. It takes like repetitions and like getting to like the roots of just communication, listening to people use words over and over so that I can see how they're correlating them. And it was really cool because he challenges me on saying that everything is desire. My point is that love is desire, because your desire to be aware is literally you as a spirit hating being nothing so much that you would rather be something, which is why you love being aware of whatever you're aware of. So awareness is your first desire, and awareness is the desire, the fire that is inspired by your spirit, and it's the light that evolves and allows your spirit to build spires that then inspire other spirits. So that's why I say everything is desire. And anything, just the fact that you as a spirit are aware is your ultimate desire, and anything that you are being aware of is thus an extension and connected to you subconsciously in that way. So that's where Gavin, he's saying his relationship with desire is very egoic and carnal, and he started introducing the word will, and to be willing to do something instead of desiring to do something. And that's where I like that a lot, because it helps me develop how will is the spirit creating desires. So when you think of will, right, when you like write a will, that's literally you figuring out where all your stuff is going to go after you die, literally, right? Like when you're writing a will as a human, you're like, okay, my estate is going to go to my son, and my business will go to my wife, and all this stuff is going to go to these people that I trust, my family. Okay, so I built something here in this reality. I'm now going to leave it here, and I'm trusting my family to it. So just right there, we can see the relationship between will and desire. And desire is physical. Desire is the ego. And the will is the spirit. And when you desire to, there is actually a strong difference. I haven't gone into this with him at all, because we kind of just like been spitballing in voice notes. There is a strong difference between desire and will. Like you can desire to fast, but if you don't will yourself to fast, you won't. Right? You can desire. That's actually a perfect example. We're going to leave that here, because join the ultimate functional fast, because so many people out here are having all these health problems. They have all these internal complications just from the pure fact that they're not fasting. And they can want to fast. So many people want to fast, but they'll fail, and they will constantly fail because they don't will themselves to fast. And so then they'll just watch themselves, and they'll watch that desire of wanting to fast, but they're not willing that desire into existence, into exit stance. So this is where desire is fire, and will is your ability to turn that fire into something. And thus, will is representative of your spirit.